Cyprus National Guard eyes French Jaguar armored reconnaissance vehicles to replace Russian BMP-3s. Cyprus is considering the acquisition of French EBRC Jaguar 6 armor reconnaissance vehicles alongside Israeli Merkava Mk3 or Mk4 main battle tanks to restructure the Cypriot National Guard's armored fleet. This procurement strategy aims to transition the military away from aging Russian-built T-80 tanks and BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles, which face severe sustainment and spare parts bottlenecks due to international sanctions. The planned restructuring leverages European safe financing for French acquisitions, including potential complementary orders for Griffon and Serval armored vehicles, while using domestic defense budgets to establish a modern, multi-tiered armored combat force starting around 2028. Cyprus is evaluating the 25-ton EBRC Jaguar 6 equipped with a 40mm cased telescoped cannon and Acheron MP missiles to serve as a high-technology direct fire and reconnaissance platform for its ground forces. The procurement plan encompasses a broader fleet modernization potentially featuring 80 Griffon and 100 Serval armored vehicles under EU financing mechanisms, complemented by ongoing negotiations with Israel for heavy-track Merkava main battle tanks. According to Phileleftheros on August 10, 2026, Cyprus was considering the French Jaguar 6 armored reconnaissance vehicle as one component of a broader restructuring of the National Guard's armored fleet, alongside negotiations involving roughly 80 Griffon 6 and 100 Serval 4 vehicles and renewed efforts to acquire Israeli Merkava Mk3 or Mk4 main battle tanks. These large armored acquisitions are expected to begin materializing from 2028 onward, unlike smaller programs such as drone purchases that have shorter procurement and production cycles. The National Guard would retain a heavy-tracked component, potentially based on Merkava tanks. The Jaguar would occupy the reconnaissance and medium direct-fire tier, and both the Griffon and the Serval would cover troop transport, command, reconnaissance, and other functions. This restructuring is increasingly driven by sustainment. Russian-made T-80 tanks and BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles remain important elements of the Cypriot inventory, but sanctions and restricted access to Russian industrial support have complicated the procurement of components, maintenance, and long-term fleet management. Cyprus, therefore, considered between 75 and 90 Leopard 1A5 tanks from Greece, but concluded by June 2026 that the available tanks did not satisfy the National Guard's operational requirements, even as an interim solution. The potential procurement model also represents a change in fleet architecture, with safe financing supporting European acquisitions while a Merkava purchase would be funded separately through the Cypriot Ministry of Defense armaments budget. As a reminder, Cyprus has access to $1.8 billion in preferential financing under SAFE at 25 tons. European modernization. The Jaguar is lighter than the main battle tanks it would accompany, but considerably more heavily armed and instrumented than a conventional armored personnel carrier. Candias France, Arquus and Thales developed the vehicle under France's Scorpion program after the French Army established its requirement for a new medium cavalry vehicle in 2009, with a final configuration combining a manned turret, cannon, anti-tank missiles, and a remote weapon station. The Jaguar entered French service in 2022 as the replacement for 3 vehicles with overlapping missions: the AMX-10RC, the ERC-90 Sagae, and the VAB Hot. It measures 7.8 m long with a cannon, 2.99 m wide and 2.8 m high, and uses a 3-person crew of driver, commander, and gunner instead of the 4-person crew of the AMX-10RC. A militarized Volvo D11 6-cylinder turbodiesel produces 500 horsepower through a ZF7-speed automatic transmission, giving the Jaguar a top speed of 90 km/h, an off-road speed of 70 km/h, and an operational range of up to 800 kilometers. All 6 wheels are driven and the rear axle steers, while an adjustable suspension can increase ground clearance to 47 centimeters for cross-country movement. The vehicle can therefore ford 1.2 m of water and negotiate obstacles roughly 0.5 m high. Standard armor corresponds to STANAG 4569 Level 4, protecting against 14.5 mm armor-piercing ammunition and associated artillery fragment, mine, and IED threats, with modular armor available when greater protection is required. France plans 300 Jaguars, with 238 scheduled by 2030 and the complete fleet by 2035, while Belgium ordered 60 as part of its own modernization. The Jaguar S armament is built around the stabilized 40mm cased telescoped cannon rather than the 105mm gun of the AMX-10RC, allowing it to fire at roughly 200 rounds per minute, while its 10 to 45 elevation permits engagement of targets on upper floors, reverse slopes, and other positions difficult to cover with the smaller elevation arcs of conventional tank guns. The Jaguar carries 180 40mm rounds, 65 of them ready to fire. APS-T ammunition provides an effective range of roughly 3 kilometers against armor targets. General-purpose ammunition reaches roughly 2.5 kilometers, and programmable airburst ammunition can detonate above trenches, behind cover, or near elevated infantry positions. Furthermore, 2 Acheron MP anti-tank missiles are ready to be launched on the right side of the turret, and 2 more are stored as reloads. The Acheron MP can attack tanks and protected structures at up to 5 kilometers and supports fire and forget, lock-on before launch, and lock-on after launch engagements, including beyond line-of-sight attacks when the target is masked by terrain or another obstacle. Consequently, a Jaguar encountering a main battle tank does not have to close the 40 CTC engagement distance to respond. The third weapon is an Arquus T3 Hornet S remotely operated station with an FN MAG 58 7.62 mm machine gun with 550 ready rounds, roughly 800 m of effective range, for a 360 traverse, and an elevation from 20 to 60. A Jaguar consequently has distinct weapons for 3 target classes: the machine gun for close infantry threats, the 40 CTC for infantry positions and light or medium armored vehicles, and the Acheron MP for tanks and hardened targets. For Cyprus, a tank would remain necessary when the mission requires repeated engagements, heavier protection, and direct armored combat rather than reconnaissance followed by selective engagement. The strongest differentiation from Cyprus' existing reconnaissance vehicles would come from sensors and digital target sharing. The Jaguar integrates roughly 20 sensors, and the commander and the gunner each receive an independent Safran Paseo stabilized electro-optical sight rather than sharing a single primary observation channel. The arrangement supports hunter-killer operation. The gunner can track or engage one target while the commander searches independently for the next. The Paseo can detect a target at 15.4 kilometers, recognize it at 7.6 kilometers, and identify it at roughly 4 kilometers, while its laser rangefinder reaches beyond 7 kilometers, and an automatic tracking can maintain contact with ground or aerial targets. 2 Thales Antares units, mounted on opposite parts of the turret, provide continuous 360 azimuth coverage and observation from 15 to 75 in elevation. Each uses a 5-megapixel imaging system and combines local observation with laser warning. In daylight, it can detect an armored vehicle at 500 m, a small UAV at 250 m, and a person at 150 m, while locating a laser source to within 1.5. 5 peripheral cameras cover the immediate surroundings, and conventional backup optics remain available to the commander and gunner if primary electro-optical equipment fails. Moreover, the Pilar V adds a different sensor channel by acoustically detecting small arms fire, medium-caliber weapons, mortar rounds, rockets, and RPGs at 360. Its directional accuracy reaches 2 in azimuth and 3 in elevation, with a 10 margin in estimated distance. When several Scorpion vehicles detect the same firing event, their measurements can be exchanged and triangulated to locate the shooter, after which the Jaguar S turret can be directed toward the calculated position. In Cypriot service, that could make the Jaguar a forward acquisition node. One Jaguar could detect a target and pass coordinates to another Jaguar, an Acheron MP team, infantry, or a Merkava without itself becoming the firing vehicle. The Jaguar cannot logically possess the same protection level as a tank, so its survivability model combines ballistic protection with detection, electronic countermeasures, obscuration, and mobility. The Antares warns the crew when the vehicle is illuminated by a laser rangefinder, while a missile launch detector and the Pilar V warn against missiles and direct fire. An infrared jammer provides another countermeasure channel, and the Thales Eclipse jammer detects and suppresses radio signals used to trigger remotely controlled IEDs, without blocking friendly communications. The Galix, for its part, provides the physical countermeasure layer through 14 80mm grenade launchers. After detection and localization of a threat, the system can deploy multispectral countermeasures in less than 1 second. The resulting non-toxic cloud masks the vehicle in visible wavelengths against laser rangefinders and designators and across infrared wavelengths from 0.8 to 14 microns. It can extend 20 to 60 m from the vehicle, rise to 7 m, and persist for up to 90 seconds. This is intended to interrupt acquisition or guidance long enough for the Jaguar to reposition rather than rely on armor to defeat every incoming weapon. Sustainment is unusually relevant to the Cypriot requirement because monitoring sensors check suspension, brake pads, and gearboxes.